Hello and welcome to another episode of Friday Minis. Today we're going to look at a few font related terms that we see very often but won't necessarily understand. Now when you're in your word processor and you click on your fonts drop down, you realize that some fonts are serif fonts. What does that mean? What are serifs? Here, take a look at these two sets of fonts and tell me if you can see any difference between the set on the left and the set on the right. Now, if you were to actually look closely at the individual letters, you realize that all the fonts on the left actually have these little things sticking out. And if you were to actually look at the fonts from the right group, you realize that all the fonts are actually very nice and straight, nothing sticking out. These little embellishments to the fonts are called serifs. Now then, we look at another term, sans serif. Now for those of you who don't know, the word sans is actually an archaic English term, and essentially what it means is without. So then it should be pretty clear what it means. A sans serif font doesn't have serifs. Now in some cases the term sans serif is actually shortened to just sans. For example, in a font Comic Sans, well, that's what a sans means. Now serif fonts and sans serif fonts actually have an alternate name. Serif fonts are also known as Roman fonts. So when I say Times New Roman, you can guess that this font has serifs. Similarly, a sans serif font is also known as a Gothic font. So when you see a font with the word Gothic in its name, you know that it's sans serif. So why the need for distinction? Why are some fonts serifed and some fonts sans serif? You see, apparently many years ago there was actually this debate and this belief that fonts with serifs are actually easier to read. Modern day findings, however, are unable to prove that serif fonts are actually easier to read. That's probably why it's become more of a style choice than anything these days. Personally, I find sans serif fonts easier to read because, well, they're neater, they don't have, strange embellishments. But that's just my opinion, man. And that's it, that's all there is for this episode of Friday Minis. Don't forget to like, favorite, comment, subscribe, and visit me on Twitter. You're watching 0612 TV.